leftovers, or the DMV,
number 97,
or house cleaning, or Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hi, I'm David Eagleman. I have a new podcast called Inner Cosmos on iHeart. I'm going to explore the relationship between our brains and our experiences by tackling unusual questions like, can we create new senses for humans? So join me weekly to uncover how your brain steers your behavior, your perception, and your reality. Listen to Inner Cosmos with David Eagleman on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Back in 1999, a young woman from South Carolina vanished. 7 years passed. She was presumed dead. Then, a tip came in.
He said, I think I found your girl, and she's alive. She's in New York. And I said, really?
The detective on the case, he didn't buy it. He came to believe that he was dealing with an imposter. Who was this woman, really? Listen to Deep Cover on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network.
Yo, WeTransfer is the best. If you were looking for the easiest way to transfer files back and forth, use WeTransfer. There's no sign-in code, no offer codes, no password to forget. Just upload, send, and get back to making what it is you make. 40 million people use WeTransfer, and they showcase creative people across all different platforms. So, in that spirit, we're skipping the rest of the 60-second ad and getting right back to this show. WeTransfer.com. You make WeTransfer. Hello one, hello all. I am Ray Harkins, and you are listening to 100 Words or Less, the podcast. I'm trying to make this intro a little bit different from time to time, because otherwise people feel like they're listening to the same show. They're like, wait a minute, did I download the wrong one? I think I already listened to this one. But anyways, welcome. We're talking about independent music, the people who are involved in it, creating it, putting it out, taking pictures of it, drawing. Well, yeah, I guess drawing. Yeah. We get some artists on here. We get a wide variety. I get a wide variety. I always like to say we because it makes me feel like this thing is bigger. And technically it is we because you are the fuel to the fire that is this whole podcast thing. So anyways, who do I have this week? Well, you read, right? So you've already seen this, but I, of course, have to do my appropriate intro of a good friend of mine, someone who I hadn't spoken to in honestly 10 or so years. Howard Jones. He's a vocalist for his new band. Well, not technically new, but, new name of the band, Light the Torch, who's putting out a record on Nuclear Blast. Really, really good band. If you are fans of anything heavy and or metal, you will absolutely lap this up and love it. And he also played in a band called Killswitch Engage, and where I met him initially was in the band Blood Has Been Shed, which you will hear in a moment. Like, why would I play like the new single off of their new record? I'm going to play the stuff that I got introed to initially. I just think it's more fun that way. So Howard, more on Howard in a minute. Let's talk about some stuff. Some of it's serious, some of it's not serious. This is serious. Caleb Schofield, the bassist of Cave-In. He recently passed away. Well, not passed away. I try not to use that euphemism. I feel like the word died has power to it, and passed away, I feel like, I don't know, like it kind of skirts around this notion that everybody is afraid of death. And I try not to kind of build into that. But anyways, so Caleb Schofield, he died tragically. He is a father of two, and it really shook me. I had only, said hi a couple times when my band Taken played some shows with them, and we just never traveled in the same circles, but was a person whose musical impact was felt far and wide. And to have him, his light snuffed out before, he really should have led a long life, like most of us will hopefully do. And it's so tragic and sad, but the silver lining to it all is the fact that we as a musical community come together and we raised a boatload of money. I think the last time I checked, it was like close to $90,000 was going to his family, which of course no amount of money even really makes a dent in anything from that perspective. But I just like the fact that, I was reading these comments on this GoFundMe page of people just saying like, I don't know you beyond the music, and thank you so much for that. And I'm so sorry that, your family has to deal with this. So yeah, if you want to just Google Caleb Schofield and find the GoFundMe page, I highly, highly encourage you to do that because, that's frankly the least that we can do as a music community of a person who contributed a lot. He's done a lot of great stuff. Old Man Gloom, Zozobra, like I said, Cave In, just really, really sad that happened. So I wanted to make sure to appropriately memorialize him because he was very important to me as well musically. And then on the much lighter side of things is I got to plug some podcasts that I have personally recently been on. And if you, like me, are always searching for fun, cool podcasts, this isn't so much a selfish plug to like, hey, listen to my episode, even though it's kind of tied in there as well. There's a podcast called This Awful Sound, which is super fun. I went on there, spoke for an hour and a half about Hoobastank, Trust Company, and bands in the sort of nu metal revival in the early 2000s. And it was so much fun. So I highly encourage you to go to This Awful Sound and find them on the podcast catcher of your choice. And you'll enjoy it because they basically take some ostensibly really bad music and people opine about it. And yeah, we go to some pretty funny places. So, and it's done by hardcore kids. So that's always fun. And then Strange Nerve, my friend Taylor Madison, who was a previous guest on the show, he had me on his show to nerd out so deep about podcasts. We talk a lot about podcasts. So if you are interested about the industry, what it takes to run a podcast, I highly encourage you to do that. So Strange Nerve is the name of his show. And then finally, an old high school friend of mine launched a show called Low Density, in which he talks about faith and how that intersects with people's lives. And so, if you're interested in religion and all of that stuff, you definitely need to find Low Density. He has pretty interesting conversations, even though he's only got about maybe 15 or so shows under his belt. So I highly encourage you to do that. And then what? Rockabilia? No, hold on. I'm going to talk to you about something else first. This is important. I want to do a mailbag episode. I want to have you submit some questions where we, I just answer them. It's either directly about me, directly about the show, about music in general, whatever it is. Email me, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. I highly encourage you to do that because I'll be putting something together in the next couple months. So please do that. And then Rockabilia, like I said, I was going to say, Rockabilia is the best. They are the spot for you to buy all of your band merch. It's all in one convenient location. They have 500,000 designs for you to dip into, from long sleeves to sweaters to t-shirts. It's all officially licensed. The band's getting paid. Everything's above board, and the customer service is top shelf. And I want to give you 15% off whatever item you would like to pick. And that is, of course, using the code PCJabberjaw. So please do that. It will get you some percentages off. And yeah, Rockabilia, love what you do. Love the support of the show. So thank you for that. All right, let's wrap this up. Howard Jones, he's the best. I love him dearly. And this conversation was very different because it was people catching up, and I tried not to be too like inside baseball, and I tried to explain some of the stories that we were going to be telling. So if you feel like it's not very reflective over a wide ranging conversation that I typically have on these shows, I'm sorry, but this was me catching up with a friend who happens to be Howard Jones, one of the, in my opinion, one of the best heavy vocalists of all time. I just love what he does, and I have loved everything that he has done since. So when I say since, I mean since when I first discovered him, his blood has been shed. So anyways, that's that. Here is Howard, and I will talk to you, obviously, at the end of the show, where I'll tell you who the next week's guest is. All right? So stick around.
I don't know why it's so crystal clear to me. Like, I'll walk you through this memory that I have because it's so comical. So, like we first ran across each other, obviously playing, shows together with Taken and Blood Has Been Shed in 12 Tribes at Coos Cafe in Santa Ana, if I'm not mistaken. So then I was able to give you guys a place to stay that night. And, you're like, you guys are adults and like I'm a child at that time. And so I have this really distinct memory of like, you guys obviously coming back and like us hanging out and, really enjoying our company. And then, you guys, you as adults do, you woke up, early-ish in the morning. And, I'm still living with my parents, obviously. And you guys had found some like free weights that my dad had. And so like you and I swear it sounds like I'm making this up, but like, it's so perfect where it's like, you guys were just like, just doing some weightlifting, like as one does. And I remember my mom coming downstairs and like, being like, she's used to like, weird people staying over, but seeing adults lifting weights in like the living room, she was just like, oh, interesting. Well, who does Ray have over now?
Oh, I forgot about that part.
It was so perfect.
We were a group of large, brawny men. That's really fun.
But I love like, I try not to get too nostalgic over those either stories or instances, but it was like, that was so ingrained in that early touring years because, you would, whoever you would stay with, you would always have some adventure or weird story, whether it was like, oh, dude, we stayed at this guy's like mansion and the mom made breakfast for us or whatever. Like you always had those stories,
Yeah. Yeah. This one, I guess we did kind of leave strange stories like that around.
That's true.
Oh, that makes me laugh.
That's good.
That makes me laugh.
That's good. But I remember like, I remember like, I mean, I really didn't have any impressions of you before we hung out at all. But then I just remember, after that, hang session, I was just like, I don't know. I was so endeared to you. I was just like, Howard, like he's a great guy. I would love to hang out with him, as much as humanly possible. And and it just, I don't know. It was one of those things like those intense relationships that you have with a person for, hours at a time is just like, like I'll always consider you a friend, even though we haven't spoken in 10 years,
Has it really been that long?
I don't
feel like it's been.
Yeah.
We definitely had plenty of nice long conversations, and I don't know if you remember this during the time hanging out there at your place. You had this huge wall of CDs.
Yes.
And I can't remember what order you had them in, but you had them in some sort of order. And we just went down the list of like the ones that we liked, but more often than not, we were just making fun of everything. Just because because we were up super late because I'm always up. And I was like, oh, wow, somebody's up with me. Cool. So, yeah.
I do. No, it's funny now that you say that. I do remember that because it was just like, all it was like, just like us being up at like, 4 a.m., being super punchy and just being like, oh man, what about this band? That band sucks. Or like, oh dude, that record rules.
It just went on and on
constantly,
and you had so much stuff.
It's true. Yeah, there was material for hours.
Oh yeah, but yeah, it was one of those things. We just kind of ended up bonding, and after that, it's one of those things where it's like I hear your name and that's awesome. How's he doing? Man, I miss that guy.
Yeah. And I really do think there's something, about that, time frame of when, most bands in our genre were not, making a quote unquote living. And like, you just were able to like get out on tour and experience that. But like those, experiences of just like, well, we don't have very much money, so of course we're not going to stay in a hotel, and of course we're just going to stay with whoever we can find at that show,
Yeah, I mean, you did it because it's what you did. You didn't play in a band with, well, at least I didn't play in bands with the dreams of making it big someday. I just did it because I did it.
Right.
And so, and to make it, if you want to call it that, there was no way you were staying at hotels. You just didn't. I mean, how many shows did you play where it's like, hey, we got $50 tonight, and you were stoked? Just what? Do those days exist anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, it does, but yeah, it's so much more of a business now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Just because, once you start to have a roadmap and people can kind of put two and two together, then yes, it's easier for bands to exist with the idea that, oh yes, we can make this as a living. Whereas, that wasn't, you could point to like 5 bands that you were like, oh wow, dude, I heard Poison the Well, like they don't have to come home and like work at a bagel shop. Like they're just like on tour constantly.
Seriously, they were the breakout band, man. And so, yeah, you just thought like, wow, I can't believe that they're this big. I mean, how many times did we play with those guys and then they put out that album, Opposite of December?
Yeah,
is that it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, there's no way you can't remember just certain songs for that. I mean, of course, it goes without saying, like nerdy, but yeah, just they blew up. And I was like, man, this is crazy to see this played with in some empty gymnasium or VFW or something like that. It's like, wow, they are getting huge attention.
Yeah,
those were the days.
I know it's crazy. Well, kind of pointing the spotlight back to you, my friend. You were, I'm gonna try to, do some wide brushes of history, just because a lot of it has obviously been well documented in many other interviews. But you were born and raised in Columbus, and that's kind of where you got, your first taste of playing in bands and independent music and stuff like that. But, I didn't know. Are you an only child? Do you have brothers or sisters?
Oh yeah, no, I'm not an only child.
Okay. Where do you sit on the pecking order? Are you oldest, youngest? Where are you at?
Oh, youngest, but definitely not only. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's ever asked me that.
Okay. And do you have? Is it like what's the makeup? Is there like like older brothers and sisters? Obviously, how many on each side?
Yeah, it was. 4 boys and a girl. That was my big old family.
Got it.
And then this weird me.
Right.
I don't know why I was a part of that. I've just always been a little odd.
Sure. And were you, being the last of 5? Was it? Were you one of the kids that was, considered a quote unquote gift from God, where it's like, oh wow, we weren't anticipating another child, but here he is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it went with everybody that was in my position. Like when you're that far down the pecking order, yeah, more than likely, I think something unexpected happened.
Right. That's funny. Yeah. I just, especially like you said, when you do have, basically over 3 kids, and then, the last one is usually like, oh, that one, it looks like that one slipped by the goalie.
Yeah. I believe there's a reason I didn't get surprise birthday parties, because my birthday was a surprise. So, yeah. Hey,
it's Howard's birthday. Oh, that's right. That's tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure my mom was like, yeah, I remember that day. All right.
Right.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Trust me in saying that therapy is an incredible tool for as you are traveling through life, because who you are as a person, 5 or 10 years ago is maybe a completely different version of yourself, because we run into challenges, whether it's work, whether it's life stuff, relationships, all of those things. You can work through with a therapist. And that is why I love BetterHelp and what they do. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and it's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and then you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Ray to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/Ray. Dip in, give therapy a try, and become a better person.
Leftovers. Or the DMV.
Number 97.
Or house cleaning. Or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hi, I'm David Eagleman. I have a new podcast called Inner Cosmos on iHeart. I'm a neuroscientist and an author at Stanford University, and I've spent my career exploring the 3-pound universe in our heads. On my new podcast, I'm going to explore the relationship between our brains and our experiences by tackling unusual questions so we can better understand our lives and our realities. Like, does time really run in slow motion when you're in a car accident? Or can we create new senses for humans? Or what does dreaming have to do with the rotation of the planet? So join me weekly to uncover how your brain steers your behavior, your perception, and your reality. Listen to Inner Cosmos with David Eagleman on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
So delicious almond milk with cashew is the best thing that I've ever tasted from a nut milk perspective. I, of course, have been vegan for a long time, have drank the almond milk for quite some time, but it wasn't until this product hit the market. I mean, first of all, So Delicious is incredible on so many plant-based dairy stuff, like ice creams and everything. But once this almond milk came in the market, oh my gosh, I couldn't even tell you how excited I was. And what's even better, it has 7 or fewer ingredients, and it comes in 3 amazing flavors: vanilla, original, and unsweetened. And if that's not enough, the bottle itself is made up of at least 80% plants, which is, of course, 100% awesome. But no joke, this is the real deal. If you've never ever tried almond milk, you need to start here, because you will taste it and you'll be like, I am never going back. Ever, ever, ever. So one sip is all it takes to realize that nothing else compares. So please go to visit sodeliciousdairyfree.com/words today to learn more. Again, that's sodeliciousdairyfree.com/words. Trust me, this is the real deal. I love this stuff, and you will too. sodeliciousdairyfree.com/words. All right, now on to the show. So were you closer to, I guess, your mom or your dad, or how did you kind of navigate that huge family relationship you had?
Closer to mom, but I was always, I got along with everybody in the family, but I was always kind of a loner.
Yeah.
I hung out with friends, I hung out with family, I'd play sports with everybody and all that stuff, but I spent a lot of time on my own. I remember one summer for, I think pretty much the whole summer, I would just, as a kid, I think I was maybe 2nd, 3rd grade, something like that. I would just, the whole summer, walk from my house to the public library and just stay in the library and read all day, check out some books, go home, read most of the night because I didn't sleep. And I'd get up the next morning, I just did the same thing. I just did that over and over because I'm weird.
Right. Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because that's always something that, in getting to know you, and something I've always observed about you is, most people place the front man of a band, no matter what genre of music, is, they're like the most outgoing and gregarious and, big personality and stuff like that. And while you do have a big personality in the sense of like, you are, like you said, you're friendly and you're not like, this person who doesn't know how to speak to other people, but you've always been, in my mind, more comfortable with either by yourself or a very, very small group of people. And so that's always kind of been the case.
Yeah. And I think I've figured that out more as time has gone by. I'm like, oh wow, I've been like this for a long time. And not just being a loner, but just how I am, period. It's like, oh, I've always been like this. I just didn't recognize those, things about me. Like the fact that I don't sleep. I've always been like that. And it's like, oh, wow, really funny when I think back about even like meeting you.
Right.
Like literally just kind of punch drunk and everything because I couldn't sleep. And it was just, I feel even when I was a kid staying at a library all day, then checking out books and reading them all night because I couldn't sleep. So yeah, just always been a little different. And so, when you're up when everybody else is asleep, you kind of get used to having time to yourself.
Right. Yeah. No one else is there to entertain you. So you're like, well, I'll go ahead and take care of this myself.
Yeah. Entertain or then also, I don't feel like I'm bothering. So I always feel like I'm bothering people. So, I ghost all the time. I'm literally the dude who disappears.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's always one of those things where it's like, hey, where's have you spoken to Howard at all? No, I haven't seen him in a while. Oh yeah, well, he left like 3 hours ago.
Just gone. But yeah, I've always been like that. That's just me.
Got it. And so, like you said, you were comfortable, existing in, sports and all the other things that, kind of typical kids do. What kind of path did you see yourself like headed on as you were, going into, high school and started to develop your own identity and like, music was an important part of your life, but did you ever have conceptions of what like a career would be? Like, oh, I want to be a history teacher or something like that.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. I thought maybe I was going to be a teacher and just go that path or something like that. I didn't really have aspirations of music. I begrudgingly was doing choir and things like that in middle and high school, and it was just because I was kind of shy about singing, and so even doing that, it was still kind of difficult. And then I remember getting asked to do like the ensemble glee thing, like, hey, do you want to you would get a partner and sing and dance, and I was like, I flat out refused. I won't even do choir again if you ask me again. So, just don't. But I just thought I was gonna be a normal person and be a teacher, honestly. Yeah. And then it just kind of went this route.
Right. Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah, exactly. And so, when playing in bands, because you started playing in bands with Corey, right? Like he was basically your first sort of bandmate in that respect, yeah?
Yeah.
And
That was... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that, like, what was the name of that first band? Because I didn't, obviously, I only know you, via Blood Has Been Shed. So I'm sure that has to have a terrible band name, like most first bands do.
Oh, yeah. I think we were Release. Yeah, it was.
Well, that's not too bad. I mean, Release, that's simple.
Yeah, so was the music. Simple.
Well,
bad.
Well, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do when you're in your first band or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that bums me out. It's like people start, and I was like, man, this band is awesome. It's like they're so young. Oh, they don't know the embarrassment of getting on stage and then figuring out, oh, I'm not good at this.
Totally.
It's so humbling.
It is. And I always think...
You just don't understand that feeling.
No. I always think that it's very funny because every band has the idea of like, filming their first show or getting some documentation of it, and nothing like that could not be a worse idea, because like when you look, even if you look back on that, like 2 weeks after the show, you're like, oh, I thought I was killing it. I was like back to the crowd, like crouched in a corner. Like, it's like, oh my God, this is horrible.
I know, right? Just terrible. I mean, you want to jump ahead. I mean, we can talk about, let's talk about like Killswitch, that first tour I did, yeah, we did some awesome stuff and all that. But first tour, we're in a van and it was $50 a show.
Yep.
That's just what you did.
Yeah.
And before that, you were lucky to get paid sometimes. It was just, just having a presence there. And it was, you can sell some T-shirts. Okay. All right. You can play 4 songs. Okay. And then of course, you're playing with bands and no one knows who you are. So, they're just looking at you, and all those embarrassing moments.
Absolutely.
So many. So many of them.
So many. But did you, even though you were a person, like, I mean, every time I've seen you in all your bands, like you know how to, be comfortable on stage. I'm going to guess that was something that you kind of had to learn how to do, or did you have any sort of like, stage fright getting up there, like once you first started playing, some shows in the Columbus area?
Oh, I still do. Okay. I still always have stage fright. And secondly, I've spit out and swallowed so much vomit. It just is what it is. How many times I've been made fun of for wringing my hands mercilessly. I don't know. It's always gotten that way. It's not natural to get in front of people and do this. So, yeah, and I will never understand not feeling like just completely strange walking out on stage. I mean, once you're doing it, it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing. But I think about it beforehand, and yeah, I'm about ready to pass out.
Right. No, that's cool, because I mean that definitely, goes.
Yeah, you just said, "Oh, that's cool." Is it cool?
Well, because to me, it would strike me as weird if because that kind of goes against your like that would go against your personality. If you were like, yeah, like I'm weird kind of loner in the corner, and then like, oh, dude, I can easily get up in front of people and just yell at them in the face for like half an hour, like no problem. It's like, well, that's weird, because that doesn't seem like something that would add up.
Yeah, that is not me. And what's amazing is meeting people who are into the bands and stuff like that, and they come in pretty hot. They're just screaming at me, and I'm like, wow, I'm literally embarrassed right now because realize I am just not like that.
Yeah, totally.
It feels very weird when someone just comes at me and just screams my name. Like,
yeah, I don't know
why you did that.
Right. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I think I feel really weird. So that was the mission. Success.
And so then, did you actually do any touring with that first band release at all, or was that more of when you were in Blood Has Been Shed?
I think we were more of just like weekend warriors. We did a little bit of touring here and there, but we were young, terrible. So it's not like it had legs to stand on at the time.
Right.
And but then we started doing that, and then that's when I ended up moving out to Connecticut. As Corey was getting married, and he was going to be doing the family business, and he was like, "Hey, I'd love to keep the band going." And he said, "But I understand if you don't." And so we all said, "Sure." And eventually the 4 of us went out there, and then one guy left, and then I think eventually a second guy left. But yeah, Corey and I just kept playing, and and what we did evolved from Release evolved to this band Driven, and from Driven it evolved into Blood Shed. And Driven was terrible too.
Sure.
But
still.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was very bad. And so, yeah, we started playing shows in, New England and everything. And, a couple shows in, you realize, oh, we've got work to do.
Right.
So that's what we did.
Yeah.
We just
did the work
down and started writing. Yeah. I mean, we played shows and did what we could, but after a while, we're like, Corey was like, wow, he's like, I really want to step things up, and he's got some ideas for music. Some of it might be kind of crazy, but I want to call him Husband Said. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right,
whatever.
sure, if you say so.
Yeah, I just kind of roll with the punches, don't I?
Yeah,
that's
how you end up in Connecticut.
That's how it started.
How?
Yeah, pretty much.
As you were, because how old were you when you made that move to Connecticut?
Geez, I don't know. Early 20s.
Early 20s.
Like
yeah.
that?
So I'm going to guess that you're by this time your parents had obviously seen what you started to get into with all the bands and probably weird music to them. How like you said you were already kind of going to the beat of your own drummer. Were they ever, I guess, like afraid, concerned, like, oh man, Howard seems to be like going somewhere else, and I just don't understand this music that he's doing? Or did they kind of just like leave you to your own devices?
Yeah, I kind of got left to do my own thing. So I've always been a little peculiar, and they didn't really understand that. I mean, yeah, there was just nobody like me in the family, so. And it wasn't really that big of a deal to me. I just did it. Yeah. I mean, because I always figured, why not? This has just kind of been my approach to a lot of things. I'm like, why not? I'll give it a shot.
Right.
I mean, because, what happens if you don't? You didn't. So literally, I've kind of lived my life by that in a lot of ways, for better or for worse. It's like, move? I'll give it a shot. What? Join this band? I'll give it a shot. What? Join this band? I'll give it a shot.
Right. Well, but I mean, it's cool because you were you're approaching it from a very like. I don't want to use the word nonchalant because, that makes it sound like you don't care at all, but you do. But you very much are trying to, I guess, collect that experience, whatever it may be, good or bad. You're just like, well, I gotta try this because it's in front of me. And who knows if it's not going to be there in 6 months if I say no to it or whatever.
Yeah, it kind of is like that. Like, I don't want to let an opportunity pass by if I have a chance. I got asked in some interview, this guy, what's the one achievement that I haven't had? And I don't have any achievements. I just want to keep working. Mm-hmm. It's like, I literally just enjoy heavy music. I enjoyed all of this stuff. So I'm like, is that it? And he's like, well, that's an answer. I'm like, well, that's not an achievement. An achievement, that's like a goal or something.
Right,
I'm
right.
I'm like, there's no payoff here. My achievement is like, I don't want to like reach something and then quit. I just want to keep going.
Right.
So is that my achievement? I don't know. I'm just always like, oh, okay, I can try this. I want to keep trying stuff. So it's, I do work. I like the work. It's, coming up with stuff. I don't know. There's something about that, but yeah, it's just, I just want to try.
Leftovers. Or the DMV.
Number 97.
Or house cleaning. Or
Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hi, I'm David Eagleman. I have a new podcast called Inner Cosmos on iHeart. I'm a neuroscientist and an author at Stanford University, and I've spent my career exploring the 3-pound universe in our heads. On my new podcast, I'm going to explore the relationship between our brains and our experiences by tackling unusual questions so we can better understand our lives and our realities. Like, does time really run in slow motion when you're in a car accident? Or can we create new senses for humans? Or what does dreaming have to do with the rotation of the planet? So join me weekly to uncover how your brain steers your behavior, your perception, and your reality. Listen to Inner Cosmos with David Eagleman on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Rosie O'Donnell, and I've got a new podcast called Onward with me, Rosie O'Donnell, on iHeart. I'm 60 years old now. Believe that? Yes, it's the truth. So I figure 2/3 of my life are done. 0 to 30, 30 to 60, and now I'm in the 60 to 90 if I'm lucky. Mostly, this part of my life is just about moving forward. And I thought, what a wonderful way to do it. With a podcast that I can sit down here in my home with people I love and admire, people I've worked with, people I've gotten to be friends with, and some family friends that feel like the real deal. Like who, you might ask? Natasha Lyonne, Jennifer Lewis, Ricky Lake, Fran Drescher, Sharon Gless, Kathy Griffin, Cameron Manheim. The list goes on and on. Listen to Onward with Rosie O'Donnell, a proud part of the Outspoken Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is incredibly important to me, so please listen up. We've lost a ton of incredible musicians to overdose, especially opioids like heroin and fentanyl. And addiction is a nationwide problem, and there is no easy fix. Recovery isn't one size fits all, and that's why the American Addiction Centers is revolutionizing the addiction treatment industry with holistic, evidence-based treatment practices and innovative technology to ensure safety throughout detox and treatment. And they specialize in dual diagnoses. So mental health, addiction, they handle that all. And they even offer in-house genetic testing. So if you can find out you're prone to any prescription drug sensitivities or interactions, it's incredible. And better yet, they work hard to make sure individual needs are met by empowering individuals in their lifelong recovery journey in a comfortable home-like setting. So please take action. If you or you know someone that is struggling with drugs or alcohol, and you're maybe not even sure if you are as well, you need to call the American Addiction Centers at 888-260-7264. It's available 24/7, and your life is worth more than your addiction. Do not wait until it's too late. I've had family members struggle with addiction, and it's an awful, awful thing. This service, I believe so much in. So please call the American Addiction Centers at 888-260-7264. Please help. Okay? Now on with the show.
Kind of fast forwarding a little bit when, basically, because we've obviously been talking about, your sort of your introversion and the fact that, there's so much that it takes to be in a band, let alone a person that's, at the focal point of the band and, as far as a singer is concerned. And I know that like when you stepped away from Killswitch Engage, there was a myriad of things going on from like, your mental health, your actual physical health. I presume a lot of the sort of mental strain that you were feeling, and this is me just kind of, using conjecture here, but like, people obviously connected with your lyrics and like you weren't just singing about, swords and goblins and stuff. You were singing about your own personal feelings, and people put a lot on you because of that. And I'm sure like you said, you were just hanging out in the back of the bus because I'm sure a lot of it was you just couldn't handle a lot of the input that you were getting from a lot of people. I guess when did you recognize that you couldn't handle that,
Oh, wow. I would say I started realizing it was very awkward. I don't know, 2003, 2004, just the way I felt was beyond discomfort. It was like, it was just consuming my thoughts and feelings. I don't understand why I hate this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's what I want to do now, because it's like, oh, this is, because there's part of this that obviously I love it because I'm still doing it. But yeah, there was part of it was just like, I don't understand the attention, or I can't really word it. I still can't. All I know is like around that time, that's when I noticed, all right, this is strange. And it just built up.
Yeah.
And it just got worse and worse.
Right.
And things I didn't know, I literally didn't know that, there was something like physically, chemically wrong with me. And, and of course that just ties into everything, just everything you've experienced throughout your life, and just then like not realizing it's like, oh, I really am like, I'm manic depressive. Okay. That's why I am the way I am. Okay. That explains a lot, but then it's still a long time weeding through all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a long process.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure too, a lot of it stems from, you being, kind of reclusive by nature, and you're looking at all that you're surrounded by in regards to, the band being successful, and, all your bandmates, being relatively happy and whatever. Like, from an outsider's perspective, everyone's like, dude, what do you got to complain about, bro? Like, there's nothing wrong. And I'm sure I'm sure that kind of crept in your head where you're like, well, yeah, I guess I shouldn't be feeling this way, but then I do, and you can't reconcile those two.
Yeah, of course. That's what it is, because you hear that all the time, and it's like, oh, you're successful, man, dude. It's like everything. I didn't even know that was going to happen. Right. So I can't even say it was like that was my dream. So. And yeah, I'm a little bit introverted, and yeah, there's times that when I write stuff, and some of the stuff I've written, it's me, so yeah, there's definitely, and it's like on this album, there's a few songs in there that it's me, and so yeah, me and emotions are weird, and so things just got hard, and literally it was the thought of writing another album, because I still didn't know what I was. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know why I was so upset. I didn't know why I was so hurt, even though like, there was times I was having the time of my life with these guys, but they were happy when it was done, and I was not, and I just did not understand that.
Right. Sure.
But yeah, it was just the thought of, it's like when we got together, we're like, okay, we're going to write a new album, and it was just the thought of putting all that out there again, and then going and touring again. It just scared me, so I bailed.
Right. Yeah.
It was just, that was the tipping point. I was like, I literally just can't. So,
yeah.
I just drove away and gone.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, yeah, that's dramatic, and, that bumps people out, but like, who, if you were to not do that, who knows what you could have ended up being, not only as a person, or what you could have done to other people, and just like, it's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, I was dragging them down, because they literally, they knew I was depressed. They just didn't know how bad it was, or what to do to help me, because I didn't know what was wrong with me. And plus, I just I wouldn't be alive. There's no way.
Yeah.
So it was, and so I don't know. It wasn't even a thought process. It was just like, okay, well, everybody, let's just meet back tomorrow. I just left and did not return.
Yeah.
And that was that.
Yeah. It's like, everything kind of always goes back to the, animal instincts that we have, like the fight or flight. And, at that point you were just like, I literally can't fight anymore. I have to fly away.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can think back throughout my life. That's what I've done at times. Like, okay, this is too much. I'm out. That was me. But yeah, I think that's barely what saved me. And as I got back involved with bands, I still think I came back a little too quick. I think I was like touring again was still just so hard, but I didn't know what to do because I still love music. I still love this. I was like, you know what? I'll just give it. What the heck? I'll give it a shot. That's honestly what I thought. I'm like, well, I guess maybe I'm trying to do a little better. And maybe I can handle it. Why not? I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
I know.
And it took a while.
Sure. Well, it's really interesting, like what you said there in regards to the duality that you have to live in order. It's like, okay, there's so much that I enjoy about this experience, being creative with other people, being able to share art and all of these things. But then the trade-off that you have for it in regards to, touring and then, having people misinterpret your art or having people, whatever, like all of those things that come along with it that, clearly is out of your control. It's just, it's a tough space to be in when you are what you're doing. I just find it interesting that, like you said, you came back too early where it's like, oh, I wasn't fully ready for it.
Oh no, I just wasn't. I was still struggling. And it's one of the reasons, like, I was able to bond so well with the guys in the band because, by then I knew what was wrong with me. And it was just fighting through it and figuring out what worked. And they had my back. And so we just bonded getting through that. But yeah, it was, it was something I had to go through, and, it was hard because I would still just be so sad, and just didn't know why, but I still just tried to trudge through it. But it's funny when you say it, like they'll say that, they'll say those things and make those comments like, well, you're on top of the world and all that. But it's like, but I'm still a human.
Yeah.
I'm still me. And that's kind of why, like, the whole social media thing, if I were to pay attention to what everyone said, I would literally still be doing that band, but doing this band and only screaming heavy stuff, but then only singing. And it's just, I just got to do what I do. I got to do what's best for me and just, like try and navigate whatever this weird life is and try and write what I write and sing what I sing and do what I do and hopefully, die a happy person. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going with that.
No. I understand the sentiment. It's something I've always, admired about you as well in regards to, you are, not only are you a distinct vocalist by the way that you sing, because, you got the soul in you, but, the fact that
that's racist.
That's super racist. I know. No. But all racist joking aside, you are, just the way that you look and your presence, like, you stand out immediately, especially in our subculture, not only because, you are black and you aren't like, a majority of the people that are, involved in the punk and hardcore subculture. When did you kind of like recognize that where it's just like, oh, like, I guess I am kind of, I know I'm in a minority in the context of the world and the United States and whatever city you're living in. But, when did you recognize that within, our subculture where it's like, oh yeah, like people look at me because, I'm different looking than everybody else.
So when did you recognize, oh, you're black?
Right. I guess that's a simple way of asking it in the context of punk and hardcore.
Day one.
Okay. Your first show. Got it. Okay.
It's like, this is amazing. Okay. I mean, I am, but it was never a thing to me.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, I like the music, so it didn't really matter what I looked like. You know, it was never part of it. Mm-hmm. It just never has been. I mean, other than the occasional joke and all that, for me, it was just the work. I just wanted to get better. I wanted to do more. So it just wasn't like a consideration. I didn't seek that sort of thing out. I just like the music. Like I've been asked a bunch of questions when it comes to that. And you know, there was one interview that was really funny. It's just, why do blacks not enjoy music, like heavy music and punk music? And I just said, I do not know.
Right? Yeah. What? You're gonna speak. You're gonna speak for the whole cultural experience, right?
And I said, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for me. And then she started apologizing. I'm like, you're not even letting me answer. I'm just saying, I just liked it. Yeah. That's all I can tell you.
Totally.
But really, that's all it was. So for me, I don't know. I just kind of embraced it. I loved it. So I think that's why, for me, it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
It's just, I love the music, period.
And to kind of what we were talking about earlier too, where you were comfortable already being, you know, a person that, you know, was, you beat, you know, on the beat of your own drummer. And it's like, you'd already done that. It's like, yeah, I've already, you know, was hanging out in the library by myself. So it's like, yeah, why is me going to a show where, you know, 90% of the people that are attending are, you know, just your average white suburban teenager or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it definitely would, it would definitely, make me laugh at times. And I was like, wow, these people are mad, and what are they mad about? And you listen, it's like, okay, it's just a different type of anger. It's anger directed towards different things. You know, I grew up differently, but still, you know, it's just, I felt the same way. Yeah. Deep down, I felt different. I always have. And so, it was just, they feel like I feel.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. You felt a community, right?
Yeah. And it's like, and the guitars are awesome. The drums are awesome. And dude screaming I was like, that's interesting. Yeah. And for some reason, I just liked it.
Yeah. You're like, I'm in. Hey, you want to become better at marketing, right? Like whether it's marketing your band, whether that's marketing your graphic design, whatever it is, check out this class. This class is called Sell It Without Selling Out, DIY Marketing for Creatives. It is taught by a good friend of mine, a previous guest in the show, Finn McKenty, and Matt Halprin, another previous guest in the show, the drummer for Periphery. It is a step-by-step guide for designers, artists, all of the creative people that listen to this show to market themselves and get paid to do what they love. It's everything those two dudes have learned from the past 15 years of experience, which, trust me, they have a ton of experience, and like not just like fake experience that, you know, padding your resume and stuff like that. These guys have done it. You'll get 18 videos on each step of the marketing process, plus a 50-page workbook that will guide you through the process of making your own marketing plan. And best of all, lifetime access to their private coaching group where they'll do weekly live check-ins to answer questions in real time and guide you through the process. sellitwithoutsellingout.com. There's a couple of videos there. You can dive in, get a little sample of it. I can't back this thing enough. If you are just slightly interested in marketing, you will find a lot of awesome nuggets. It's not like you're going to remember everything. You're going to remember like 2 to 4 things and be like, wow, those are really good principles. So go to that website, sellitwithoutsellingout.com. All right, now on with the show. like we were talking about earlier, when you basically, bailed on Killswitch and you're like, I have to do this for myself because I don't know where I would be. I guess, how did you kind of, take care of yourself? How did you start to, go on your path of discovery where it's like, oh yes, I realize I am, manic depressive. And like, did you start to go to, therapists? Did you lean on, your family? Did you do all the above? Like, how'd you kind of work through that?
Yeah, it was, therapy, medication, that's a whole different thing.
Sure.
Not fun. Just all the different crazy side effects that go along with all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Brutal.
Yeah.
There was like one in particular. It was Seroquel, and literally, like, I was taking it, and after about a month, like, the side effects started. And then once I had let it go a little too long, like I kept taking it because I thought maybe it was just me. But then I stopped taking it after about, like, I don't know, let's say 3 months. But then for a year, it was just the craziest night terrors and just neck cracking tremors. Where, you just sort of like if you get a cold chill and you just, you just kind of shake. It was like that, but just, it would happen when I'm dead asleep. It would happen anytime. And it would just like jack up my neck or whatever. It was brutal. And it went on for a year. So basically, I just tried to heal, man. I did a lot of fishing. I just tried to figure out what the heck I was. That's all I did.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's great. You did that just because you needed to, basically just find your calibration, find the level that you're at. Just like you were talking about medications, like, that's a moving target. Like sometimes certain things work on certain dosages and, some things don't work, and it takes time to figure that out.
Yeah, it was brutal. Absolutely brutal. But it just took time to figure out, what was I going to do? Because I honestly didn't know what I was going to do next. And so eventually I said, well, let's try some music.
Yeah.
and it went. But yeah, it's the only thing. It's the only thing I've done for so long, and it's one of the few things in this world that I truly love.
Right.
I mean, it's just I can't stay away from it. I dream songs. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way that you can't. Yeah. You just completely ignore this aspect of your life and be like, all right, well, I got to move on from that. It's like, well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tried. It did not work.
Yeah, for sure. What struck me too, always about you, the business aspect of, music from, because you were involved in, all of the decisions that, Blood Has Been Shed was making and, booking shows and, kind of doing that stuff, working with record labels and everything. Yeah. And then, you were also managing bands for a while as well. Did you, did you enjoy that aspect of kind of the creative side of things, like the more business oriented stuff? Or was that just something that was kind of like a passing phase, as it were?
Oh, no, I enjoyed it, but it was another one of those things where I thought, why not? Because it was like, it was just more involvement in the thing I loved, music. So, yeah, it was just like, okay, I've got the opportunity. Why not? I'll just give it a try. If I can help out some other bands, cool. That's always been my thought process. It's like, give it a shot. What's the worst that happens?
Yeah, totally. And so you liked kind of the business stuff where it's like, oh yeah, we're settling the show and booking shows and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't mind that part, but at the same time, I'd rather not. But, but then when you're touring full time and then trying to do that full time, that's impossible because, you've got an active band, you're basically on call 24/7. If they're somewhere on the road and something happens, you kind of have to be there. And, just even if it's like, phone calls or whatever, it's just, that's part of it. And yeah, after a while I was like, well, okay, I physically cannot do all of this. But I think a lot of also why I did get involved was like I had a little bit of downtime, and I think downtime for me is bad. So I started doing stuff because I had this little break. I think we were writing and getting ready to record or something like that. And it was with Killswitch. And then I just started managing just because why not? And plus I'm awake all the time. So I just needed something to do. And I legitimately just try to do other things because I'm up.
Yeah, sure. No, it makes total sense. And it seems to me, where you're kind of sitting now is that, you've been able to, through the path of working on yourself and, being more comfortable, not only in your own skin, but the decisions you're making as far as playing music and stuff like that. It seems like you're, in a better balance than, what you were when you were touring, 11 months out of the year. I presume that's something that you are really, I guess, kind of vigilant about with your own life, where it's like, okay, I want to be active, I want to tour, but like I also know that I have certain limitations behind that.
Yeah, I have to be smart about what I'm doing, and if it's too much, and I basically have to figure out what works for me. And if for some reason it's not working, then I have to reassess. But yeah, we're going to tour. Yeah. So, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm just in a better place now. And, will I tour 11 months? I don't see that happening.
Right.
Oh man, I don't miss that. That was just so much. I mean, how many holidays can you spend at clubs? It was weird.
Sure. Well, you do. I mean, you see it time and time again where, bands that become successful, and release a record and tour, 18 months on it. And then once it comes time to where you're trying to dip back into the creative well of, releasing a new record, writing new lyrics, all that stuff, like the only experience you have is just like, oh, dude, I was in a club in Berlin on Christmas, and like, how am I going to write a lyric about that? I don't know.
Yeah. And see, it kills the creative spirit, man. It really does. And I know for me, it kind of did. Honestly, like I think that's one of the things that's been really good with this band is we do a lot of other stuff outside of just playing music. Like on our days off, we camp. We're camping, we're fishing, we're hiking, we're barbecuing. We like basically never stay in hotels. Just we go camping, and it's just experience turns into creativity, whether it's lyrics or music, whatever. I think that really does translate.
Absolutely. Totally. Well, especially because you're putting yourself in situations where you can either feel, like physically replenished, or you are experiencing something that you haven't experienced before. And that's engaging rather than, like you said, just checking into another hotel. And, this may be a nicer hotel, but like, I don't know, it's still the same.
Yeah. And it's like, you have to live. I mean, it's kind of like with stand-up comedians. It's like you'll see some of them, they take like a little sabbatical so that they can experience some life. Because if you're just going into clubs night after night after night, that's all you know. And it's just, so what are you going to write about next? Yeah, in every club you've been in, how much cigarette smoke you've inhaled. So you have to live. And so I think it's just finding that balance. And even in between, like shows, we just try to live. And that's the thing. I was so stuck in the dark for a long time. It's just, so I want to experience stuff. And I don't know how many times I toured and I saw nothing. And because I was literally scared to go off the bus, because I ended up becoming like agoraphobic. It was awful. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to go.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's so funny you say that, because it's like, I can't, I mean, you and I have, many mutual friends that could probably say the same thing, where it's like, dude, I've been to, whatever, Chicago 17 times in, 15 years or whatever. But like, I literally know the 4 blocks around, the House of Blues, and that's it. Like, you're like, have you seen, Millennium Park in Chicago? It's like, no, what's that? And you're like, dude, you've been, but like you've been to a city, but that doesn't mean you've actually experienced the thing.
No. And I haven't. And I mean, I was just talking about that with someone, I think I did a interview in France, and like I've flown in there, I don't know, half dozen times. I've still never been to the Eiffel. I go there, I do interviews, play a show, and leave.
Totally.
I just do nothing there. And so it's like, that's just got to change. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm literally doing it with my friends who happen to be in a band with.
Right. Yeah. And it's great because like you're an adult and you can make these decisions and you can be more intentional with your time. And I think that's what, that's what's so fun about being an adult is being like, oh yeah, oh cool. I get to go to a place and like, I'm actually going to plan around this. Like, yes, I've got a show and I'll be here and I'll do this, but like, yeah, I'll figure out a way to do this thing.
Exactly. It's like, all right, I don't want to do this, so I won't. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. This adult stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. Do you, this is super random, but like I remember us having multiple discussions about it. Do you still identify as straight edge, or is that something that has, that you are have shed the label, or do you still, self-identify?
No. Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not anymore. No.
Yeah. No.
Those were the days
for you.
And the thing is, I haven't talked to a lot of my old friends back then. Miss those guys. So if you guys are listening, say hey.
Yeah. What up?
Say hi to me.
Exactly. Yeah. Only reason I ask is because there are many people, especially that once you step into, a different, subculture, metal being one where, a lot of things like, people kind of know the wide swaths of certain, philosophical movements or whatever. But a lot of people are just always like, straight edge. I have no fucking clue what that is or whatever. Or it's like, oh yeah, those are the losers that don't drink or whatever. And like like you existed in both worlds for a long time, so your perspective is kind of
absolutely.
So both of those sides,
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, just. People have such skewed views of what things are and what they aren't. I mean, because people are involved, and they're weird. The people are. So you're going to have like some straight edge guys who are just kind of nuts, and you're going to have some that are just normal.
Right.
You're going to have like drinkers who are nuts and drinkers who are normal. And it's like people are talking about militant straight edge and everything, but then it's like, there's somebody in your family who is literally on drugs or an alcoholic. Are you going to beat them up? Because you heard that all straight edge people beat up people who drink?
Yep.
Go away.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense.
Totally.
So yeah. So I've definitely seen both sides, and I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just stop that.
Exactly.
Stop fighting.
Yeah. How about just be reasonable? How about you? How about you do that?
Yeah. Let's just be good to each other. Period.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that matters.
Yeah.
Because honestly, it does. That's honestly what matters. It's like, be good to each other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did I just go posy?
I think you did. Howard, you have a tendency to show that occasionally. It's totally fine. It's okay. Your cover's not blown.
Yeah, it rears its beaming head occasionally.
The last thing I want to hit on was the I know that you have been, and over the course of your life in music, you've helped younger bands either from songwriting and production and whatever, guest vocals, and you've done a lot of that stuff. When ostensibly you don't really need to do that, like you don't need to do that from, like, oh, I'll make a, $500 off this or something like that. Why do you do that? Beyond just the simple enjoyment of it, is that kind of at the core of it?
Honestly, like if it interests me and I can fit it into my schedule, which is pretty much crazy at all times. It just is. I don't know. I just do because I love heavy music, man. It changed my life, in so many good ways, so many strange ways. So much good and bad has happened in my life, but so much of it revolves around music. Even when I was just going to shows, to just being involved in it in all these little ways. I don't know. I just like it. I have nothing beyond that.
No, that's cool. That's all you need, really.
Yeah, it's never been for money.
Yeah,
that's never been a thing.
Yeah,
I just like this. I don't have to do this. I have to do this.
Sure. Yeah, that's part of your core being. And when you see an opportunity, it's like, oh, sure, yeah, like why not? I'll try to help with that. Yeah. Just like you've handled everything else in your life.
Yeah, it's like, oh, why not? I just like that. Like, I've figured out now, because like Peter and I, Peter from Soul Work, just, we're doing an album together, but also we're helping bands, who are writing demos or just, need some help with songwriting and stuff like that. And we're working with a record label, with some of their bands, and just writing, because I don't know, for some reason, just walking into a studio or just like trying to navigate a song and then walking away with something that you feel good about, there's something about that I absolutely love. I get a pleasure from that I can't explain. After all this time, after all these songs, I still love that.
Yeah, it gives you life. Yeah,
that's the only explanation I have. Yeah. I just love making something out of nothing. Like, okay, what do you want to do? Well, what about this riff? And it starts from there. Just I love that feeling.
It's awesome. It's great, man. That's great. Well, Howard, I could probably talk to you for another like 7 hours or so, but I that's what Jamie Josta does to you, so I don't want to do that to you. Shots fired. Shots fired. No, just kidding. I love when you guys catch up. Yeah. But I love catching up with you, and I appreciate you doing this, my friend. Yes, Howard, loved that chat. Hopefully you did as well, because that's why you're listening to this, right? So, and what else are you listening for? Oh, you're listening for the guest next week, right? How about one of my good friends and a person who you have seen play in a variety of different bands, Stuart Ross. He is the guitarist for Comeback Kid. He also is the guitarist for Misery Signals, and he's played in 5 million other side projects, and honestly, all incredible bands like Living with Lions, Low Talker, a bunch of cool stuff. And I've just known him forever, and we have a fun story of how we first met, and the mutual admiration society that is the melodic metalcore world. But anyways, that is what we have next week. I have to say thank you to our amazing sponsors, WeTransfer. Trust me, use them when you're transferring large files. There's no simpler way to do it. I've used it for years, and I love it. So WeTransfer.com. They'll do the work for you, okay? And just thank you so much for listening. And like I said, email the show, 100wordspodcast@gmail.com for a future mailback episode, okay? Please do that. And that's all we got. All right. Until next week, be safe, everybody.
You've been listening to the Jabberjaw Podcast Network, jabberjawmedia.com. Shh.
Leftovers or the DMV,
Number 97.
or house cleaning, or Chumba Casino always brings the fun. Play over 100 different games online for free from anywhere. You could redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. Live the Chumba life. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hi, I'm David Eagleman. I have a new podcast called Inner Cosmos on iHeart. I'm going to explore the relationship between our brains and our experiences by tackling unusual questions like, can we create new senses for humans? So join me weekly to uncover how your brain steers your behavior, your perception, and your reality. Listen to Inner Cosmos with David Eagleman on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Back in 1999, a young woman from South Carolina vanished. 7 years passed. She was presumed dead. Then, a tip came in.
He said, I think I found your girl, and she's alive. She's in New York. And I said, really?
The detective on the case, he didn't buy it. He came to believe that he was dealing with an imposter. Who was this woman, really? Listen to Deep Cover on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.